What's up, guys? It's Double Rim here, back with another NBA video, and it's time for my quarter season re-predictions, right? Um, I've watched a bunch of games, I've seen a bunch of teams, I've followed, the NBA, and I'm gonna give my new kind of predictions on the general standings of the NBA. So the East is pretty easy. I think it's pretty clear at this point that the top three seeds are going to be Boston, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. Now, the next three playoff teams, not playing playoff teams. Um, like the next, yeah, the next teams that won't be in the play-in tournament. I think the Nets are ripe to start winning some games here. The drama's kind of over. They got Kyrie back. They got Kevin Durant playing amazing. They have a lot of good players, in my opinion, on their team. So I think the Nets are going to be a playoff team. From the fourth to the sixth seed, right? I also think Philadelphia is going to be. Now, it's weird because Philadelphia is kind of playing better with Harden out. I'm not really sure, what to make of that yet, but they have a very good team. They have very good players, and they have a really great defense as well. Now, the next team is really tricky, and it's a toss-up right now because the Pacers, don't get me wrong, they're playing amazing. They're playing really good. I mean, Tyrese is one of the best point guards. Like, he's one of the best facilitators in the league. He's leading the league in assists. They have good rookie. Miles Turner is good. Like, can anchor your defense really well. But I just also feel like they're in a similar boat to like Portland and Utah, and maybe even the Kings to an extent, right? Where it's like they're new. Teams aren't really sure how to guard them. They haven't really studied the film yet, so. I think they will make the play-in tournament for sure, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Raptors making the final, one of those 4 to 6 spots. Because Pascal Siakam is still injured, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think he just came back actually. Yep, he came back. he just came back. I think today was actually his first game back. Anyways, so I think the Raptors are going to make the playoffs and avoid the play-in. Now the Eastern play-in teams, I think it's going to be the Pacers, the Hawks, the Wizards, and the Heat. And out of those teams, who do I trust to win the play-in series? Well, I kind of trust the Heat to win, just because their pedigree. Um, And man, it's really tough. You got the Hawks, Pacers. I don't think the Wizards will, but the Hawks or Pacers is really tough because honestly, the Pacers team is kind of better if you think about it, right? Obviously the Hawks got DeJounte and Trey, but they don't have like any shooters out there. They played John Collins, Okongwu, Clint Capella, big minutes. And they also like DeAndre Hunter isn't really that good of a scorer. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just kind of a weird team for them. I'm not really too confident. I don't know why they let Kevin Herter walk, like at all. I don't know why. So, anyways, I think the Pacers are going to make the playoffs as like an eighth seed, right? And I think that'll be pretty funny. Unless, I mean, they're playing so good. If they keep Miles Turner, they will make the playoff. They will beat. They will make it out of the play-in to be like the eighth seed, in my opinion. I think they're a better team than the Hawks. Trey is obviously probably the best player. Yeah, fuck. I don't know, man. That's really tough. Hawks versus Pacers. One of them will make the playoffs for sure. They'll make it out of the play-in. But yeah, I'm not ready to say who. I don't. Um, Anyways, now on to the West standings. So in the East, I kind of split it up into the top three seeds. In the West, I'm just going to split it up into home court, like which 4 teams will get home court, because there's more variability in my opinion. So I think the Suns, Pelicans, Nuggets, and Warriors will get home court. This is kind of in line with my preseason predictions. I didn't think New Orleans would be as good, and I thought the Clippers would be better. But New Orleans, even with a lot of their injuries, they've been playing solid. I do question their defense, though, when they're playing Zion, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum. But they have tons of defenders, like outside of those three. I mean, they got Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado. Like, those three in themselves are all great defenders. So, I'm excited to see, I think those will be the home court teams. If I had to guess, I think Golden State, just watching their games recently, I think they've really figured some stuff out. And I think they're going to go on maybe like a 10-5 run here and really start to climb the standings and maybe get, and then finish the season as a top 3 seed. Suns are playing great. I don't really know how. I've watched, maybe 4, 5 of their games this season. And, they look very similar. I mean, Devin Booker just dropped 50 points today, but I think they're a bit, I think they're just trying. I mean, they have a good system. They have 3 great players, like 3 really solid players, Booker, Mikal Bridges, Ayton, and then they're just plugging in guys around them. And I don't know how their defense remains to be so good. I mean, Booker and Mikal are 2 good wing defenders, but it's very strange. But they're playing really good. But like I was saying, I think it's part of the reason is they really do care about the regular season, which is good, which is nice. It's fun to watch a team that cares, So, those would be the top 4 teams. I think, I still going to maintain my preseason prediction with. I don't know if I can do that actually, because Denver is just so injury prone. But anyways, I think those are going to be the top 4 seeds in the West. Now, the other 2 playoff teams who are going to avoid the play-in, I think the Grizzlies are going to do it. And I think, funnily enough, the Kings are going to do it. They look really solid. Their offense looks great. Yeah, they can't play defense, but if you have a really great offense and you don't play good defense, you're going to win a bunch of games. I mean, that was the Blazers recipe for years. So, shout out to the Kings, man. Now, play-in teams. I think Dallas, Utah, Clippers, Portland are going to be, Trailblazers, are going to be at the play-in teams. The Mavericks, too reliant on Luka. He's not really that durable. He misses about, 15, 20 games a season. And this year, especially with no Brunson, they're going to be losing, most of those 15 to 20 games. So that's, chalk it up. 15, 20 losses right on the books. And they're already 10-10. So let's just extrapolate that, right? Let's just 10-30 is what their record is, like by default, starting at this point, because they're going to lose like 20 games because Luka's going to sit out a bunch, right? So they're going to have to win essentially half this. They're going to have to win a lot to overcome that, right? And I just don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think they're probably going to finish about 500 where they're at right now, maybe even a little below 500, because they really don't have anyone else besides Luka, unless Kemba Walker freaking turns the sharp. But that's not going to happen. Utah is a tough one because they might start to tank. People think if they're going to be a play-in team, maybe they'll tank. But since they have the Timberwolves pick. And they have the Timberwolves pick, and they're not going to even make the playoffs this year at all. So they're going to have 2 lottery picks, which is really solid, for a rebuild. Obviously, you're not going to get a chance at Wembanyama or whatever, but no, I think it's a really solid 2 lottery picks when you also have a good veteran team. The Jazz are in a really great position right now, and I think they're going to make the play-in. And they probably are going to lose in the play-in, but I think they're going to make it. The Clippers, I said before the season, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George aren't going to play enough games, and they haven't played enough games. But luckily, they have tons of veterans who know how to play basketball, similar to the Jazz, right? They're just a solid team, and they're going to win a bunch of games. Now, Portland has the highest ceiling out of all these Dallas Jazz Clips. They have the most talent. They got Lillard, Simons, Jeremy Grant, who would be Lillard. Those are 3 really solid players, and then they have a bunch of athletic wings around them. But they've been ravaged by injuries in this early part of the season. Just tonight they're playing the Lakers, and they're kind of getting stomped. The game's going on right now. And, yeah, they're losing by 16 points in the fourth quarter. But I attribute a lot to that. Dame's hurt. You might not know who he is, but Keon Johnson hurt. He's a important part. Nazir Little just got hurt yesterday. And they have And also a lot. Josh Hart's hurt, and also a lot of their players who are playing are hurt as well. Like Justice Winslow and Jeremy Grant have all had little ankle stuff, and Anthony Simon's dealing with like a foot injury. So even though some of those guys are playing through their injuries, like their team is just really injured. It's really banged up, and they've had a really tough schedule so far. But I really think they're going to turn it around and be a play-in team. They'll probably finish. I think they're going to be the 7th seed, Portland Trailblazers. And I think they'll probably make it out of the play-in and be one of the lower playoff teams. But yeah, that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, man, the NBA is so deep this year, and it's just super impressive. So that's kind of my standings predictions. Now to look at MVP predictions and such. So I think before the season I picked Jokic to three-peat. Well, right now, if we were to vote today, I think Tatum would have to win because Boston's record's so great. But they have some pretty unsustainable offense right now. And, I'm not really sure. I think they can probably keep the record up, but I think I'm gonna predict Tatum to win it. He really wants to win it. He had this quote last year where he said something to like Joel Embiid, and he was like, you better win it this year because I'm winning it next year, right? So I think he's really motivated to win it. He's playing great, and I think his team's going to have the best record in the NBA. So that's a surefire recipe to win MVP. Some people are trying to say Luka, but his team's 500, and they're going to finish 500. And then, obviously, since I'm kind of biased, I'd like to pick Curry because he's playing amazing, but I don't think Golden State's going to finish with the record to secure that. I think if I had to pick, I'd say Tatum first, Curry second, and maybe like Devin Booker third, and Jokic and Giannis fourth. Like it's going to be a tough race, but it's going to be somewhere along those lines. Defensive Player of the Year is really tough as well. I'd probably have to pick Brook Lopez. He's anchoring the best defense in the league, and I feel like it just strengthens his case that Milwaukee was actually kind of a bad defense last year. Not bad, but they were a middle of the pack defense last year when he was injured for a majority of the season. And this year they're by far, they're a really great defense. They're the best defense in the league. So I think Brook Lopez is probably going to win it. He looks healthy. And I think their defense is going to remain one of the top defenses for the whole year. Now, if we look at 6th man of the year, this is really tough. I think, funnily enough, I think, especially depending on how the standings fall, like if the Pacers make the play-in tournament, I think Benedict Mathurin, the rookie, is probably going to win 6th man of the year. But then Paolo Banchero will win Rookie of the Year, which is just kind of crazy to think about. That two rookies take home 2 different awards. And Benedict Mathurin wins 6th man of the year, but he doesn't even win Rookie of the Year. But I kind of think it's in play because he's playing super well. And I don't really know what other 6 men there are out there this year. You got Kevin Love, but he's not playing as well as Mathurin. And, if we look at other playoff teams, I don't know, maybe Christian Wood could win it, but if the Pacers finish with a better record than Dallas, or about the same, and I feel like Mathurin would have better publicity than Christian Wood, so he'd probably get it. Yeah, super, super hilarious. Maybe Poole could win it, I guess, too, if he starts going on a streak, but at this point I'm going to predict Mathurin. And if we say most improved player, it's got to be Lauri Markkanen. It just has to be. Some people want to say Desmond Bane or Shea, but those guys were really good last year. Those guys have been good for a while. People have known they're good. Obviously, they took a bigger jump this year, but Lauri Markkanen was a role player, and now he's a number 1 option. And I feel like that's more impressive than just becoming a little bit a better version of who you are before. A better version of yourself in your same role. Lauri Markkanen has a completely different role, and he's really excelling in it. What other awards? Is that it? Coach of the Year? Probably give it to Joe Mazzulla because they'll have the best record, and he's coming in after Ime was suspended and everything, so that's kind of a good narrative. But yeah, those are kind of my predictions. Now I'm just going to give some general thoughts. These are going to be more playoff centered thoughts, right? Those are all regular season stuff, right? But now playoffs. I a few videos ago, I stated that I didn't really believe the Warriors were going to win the championship this year, and they had no chance. But that was an overreaction. I even said at the time it's probably a bad take. And I also said that if nothing changes, right? Well, a lot's changed since I said that. Draymond Green is back to being himself. James Wiseman is not even playing. He's in the G League. And, the team has just figured out a lot. And, this year they're in a pretty decent spot. And I think they're probably going to have to trade Wiseman for, like Pirtle or Jay Crowder or someone like an expiring contract where they can get off of, because they have some big dilemmas coming in the offseason, which, some of those dilemmas are kind of their own fault, and I think they could have avoided them very easily if they had just hired me, but whatever. To have some input. If they hired me to give them some input. But anyways, so yeah, I think the Warriors are by far the best playoff team in the West. I mean, when I said that at the time, I wasn't really thinking about the totality, because the West is just full of like good teams, but there's no really good teams in the West this year, it feels like. The Suns obviously were exposed in the playoffs last year. New Orleans is young. There's no way they could make it. Denver is just too offensively slanted. And similar to New Orleans, honestly. But I think the Warriors and the Grizzlies probably have the best chances to make it out of the West, even though they're probably not going to either be a top 3 seed. But I think those are the two best playoff teams in the Western Conference right now, like by a pretty decent margin. You could obviously say the Suns, but who knows what they're going to get back for Jay Crowder. And who knows if Chris Paul can hold up, and if their team's really deep enough and good enough to actually win for like 3 straight rounds just to get out of the West. So yeah, that's kind of my playoff predictions. So yeah, I actually really think the Warriors have a very high chance to make it to the finals, based on the fact that there's not really any teams that stand in their way. I mean, they have the most playoff experience. Steph Curry's the best player in the conference, in my opinion. And Draymond Green is still the best defender in the conference. So it's like you got the best offensive, best defensive player on the same team who've won 4 championships, been to 8 finals, and have tons of playoff experience. Or not 8 finals, 6 finals, and have tons of playoff experience. Like, give me a break. They seem like primed and ready to make it back, just based on the strength of the West. Now, I think they really will have some trouble coming up against the Eastern contenders like Boston and Milwaukee. I wouldn't predict them to win this year, but I didn't predict them to win last year, so who knows. But I think Boston, especially with Robert Williams back, is going to be able to have an elite defense and elite offense, and I think they're probably going to make it back to the finals. Honestly, Milwaukee's just a little too old. Giannis is obviously the best player in the conference. I don't know, though. Milwaukee at Boston, that's just going to be a great series, and it's a toss-up. It's a coin flip who wins, but they're going to probably face Golden State, and the East, I don't know, man. Golden State could, it's impossible to say who's going to win the finals right now, but I definitely predict Boston, Milwaukee, and Golden State to be they're the 3 teams that are have a legitimate chance to win it, in my opinion. So that's kind of my quarter season review, quarter season re-predictions. It kind of lumps in, I kind of gave a lot of thoughts on the teams as I was talking about them. So anyways, this is a little shorter than I actually thought it was going to be. Peace out. Have a nice night.